It's really interesting. It's interesting too that you said what with the AI emergence. I was, like any of us marketers, just plugged into all the newsletters, just get bombarded, in our inbox with all kinds of stuff. And there's an OG get his newsletter, and he had one that was kind of talking about him just stepping back out of his community that he has of business owners, and just what he's observing. And he took us back a little bit. He said, 2016 was all about, get a funnel, throw some ads, you're gonna make some money. And then you get into 20, and it was all about it was all about creating reoccurring revenue, building it up, and selling. And what he's seeing now is a shift back to the organizations that are led with human resources paired with AI. That's the direction. He said that's the trend that he's seeing everywhere, is that these companies that are human driven, right? It's not about creating a SaaS model. It's not just about throwing a funnel up with whatever, God knows what, that you want to peddle and sell. But it's really human resource, companies driven by actual humans and human services paired with AI that are really starting to see it. And, even the late adopters or whatever, right? Just being able to leverage, ChatGPT, Grok, just using it on a day in and day out basis. I mean, even having getting my daughter to get in on board with the company. And I'm like, take your script. I want you to go role play with ChatGPT. Just open up the audio, start talking what you want to do. Had Kenny Fast on a couple weeks ago, and he's like, we make every one of our agents, they have resources that they have to check out, and they better have checked it through ChatGPT before they come to leadership with a question.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's a consolidation. Number one, it's a consolidation of agents, the ones that are willing to take advantage of that technology to make their car go faster, and then they're just going to outrun everybody else by so far. There's, like I said, it won't be sustainable. It's not catch up. But I think the other caveat to it that is going to squeeze our industry is the consumer's access to. They have the same access to AI. AI gives pretty good data. And so while you can't replace a real estate agent, there's a lot of things that you can't. There's a lot of things you can. So if you're one of those agents that doesn't have the skill beyond the replaceable, those are the ones that are in trouble. And so I think it's a lot of consumer access to information that gives them more information than they would get on just a standard Google search where they don't know how to dive deep. That's going to help too. So it eliminates a lot of those needs unless you can communicate at a really, really high level and articulate at a high level what else you do beyond that really, gives them an unfair advantage. So
it's an interesting point, Gene. It's something I was thinking about is, we're talking about us in our industry and how we're using it to be better and go faster. How are you thinking about, or even you thinking about how the consumer is utilizing ChatGPT in their home buying and home selling search prior to they even having a conversation with us?
Yeah, I mean that they can search now. It's the term Grok it versus Google it is starting to become a thing. But man, you can ask Grok, tell me what houses are for sale, tell me where they're trending, tell me what the market looks like, tell me what I can expect over the next 3 months based on data. Anything you want, just like you said with the interview conversation, because you said just have a conversation with them. It's just like the consumer having a conversation with an agent. Most likely, if it's one of the bottom, 20%, they're having a better conversation than they would have with the agent. So it's that's a big deal.
So how are you so knowing your wealth of knowledge and understanding of the industry, of how the money moves, how real estate is actually transacted and done, where do you have to focus now, because you're going to be entering into the buyer and seller's conversation where they're way more educated than ever before? How do you still maintain your value at that point? Like, how do you not be like, this dude's out, like, I know more than he does, Grok knows more than he does. So like, where do you now enter the conversation for them to be able to help them get the transaction across the finish line?
Usually strategy. One thing AI is not going to do is they'll give you market specifics and things like that, but not necessarily strategy of how to do this in this situation, or what your situations are for sidestepping the tax man, or in the mortgage world. I look at a loan and I go, well, you're approved up to this dollar amount, but if I can negotiate this amount for you into the contract, then I can approve you to this dollar amount. Because I'm doing both sides, I understand there's a level of communication to where I understand every nuance and can customize just about anything for you. So I think it goes into, number one, being able to communicate strategies based on their situation, as far as whatever the situation is, whether it's saving tax dollars, getting into the right house, all those type things that AI is pretty limited in. I think that's going to be your biggest hit. And I don't think, every house is unique. And I think I've realized that in the mortgage piece of it is, I think there's a missing gap between agents and mortgage people, unless you're so tight with your mortgage person and you're talking at such a high level, because there's a level of customization that I can do now that I'm negotiating the contract and writing the mortgage, that always ends up being a better deal for the client. Not just talking about rates, but structure and everything else, depending on their needs. And I think that flows into just what you said from the AI side. Every house is going to have a unique identifier to it, so to speak. Whether it be, size, shape, those type things, lot size, all those different things. And in addition to that, situations in the house that require timelines, that require big decisions, all those things. So if you lean more on the strategy and the navigation versus just the statistical evidence, I think that's where you'll set yourself apart.